Screen, please. Thank you.
Just a moment.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is 6:12. The date is April 19th, 2023. And this is our budget review. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the roll call, starting with Ward 1 Commissioner Young. Commissioner Young is not present. Moving on, Ward 2 Commissioner
trying to get in.
Armitage.
I'm present, and Anne is trying to get in. Zoom is asking her for a password.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going. Ward 3 Commissioner Wheatley is present. Ward 4 Commissioner Givens is absent. At-large Commissioner Uri.
Commissioner Uri is present.
Thank you. We have 3 commissioners present. We do have a quorum. We're gonna go ahead and get started with our meeting because again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So again, we're discussing the budget review and tax rate for fiscal year 2024. If you could bring that document up on the screen for us, please.
Yes. Can you all see that?
Yeah, it's tiny, but I can see it, but it is tiny. Maybe if you could make it a little bigger. Okay, that's a little better.
Almost at the max. Let me see.
That's good. You want to start with the constant yield rate?
Yeah, I haven't gone over that with him, so I can't address that part.
What have you gone over with him?
Well, we've gone over some of the things we've changed since we originally did it. We've talked about the red light camera fees, and some other particular things. So I can go over those.
Okay.
Okay, so the red light camera fines 4041, you know, that's an estimation. So you know, we have apparently before I got here, the commission decided to go with a new vendor. So I think that number may change in terms of projections. The current vendor, as you well know, is not very aggressive in going after fees, hence the desire to go with a new vendor. So I think our projections right now, if it's based upon what has been, it may change. So that's just something to be aware of. And I'm sorry, it's 4040 for the red light camera fees. And I'm getting text from everybody. Okay. So for the speed camera, that is a projection. I've spoken with the chief and it went live at the beginning of April. And so we will have a month to see, you know, what the trend is in terms of how much we will collect. So I think at the beginning of May, we went live, I think April 10th. So by May 10th, we'll have a month of collections and kind of use that as a reference point for projecting for the rest of the year. Because right now, for the speed cameras, you know, this is just a projection. So at least we'll have a month to kind of as a base point to project for the rest of the year. Okay. Let me see, what else? Now, 4086, obviously Comar Manor, 50% of the code enforcement officer. Now that we are paying the salary full-time, for that, we won't be sharing it with Comar Manor, so that's one change. I would talk about the solar 4106, the energy credits from our solar panels. That's pretty accurate. I did give Todd that number from our actual account. So those are our actual, based upon like our actual numbers. Okay. What else? So the 4135, the community parks and playgrounds, that's the tot lot. So we did get. Let me say something. So that is the tot lot. So if you recall, we did get a grant in the amount of $50,000 for that. And we paid the remaining balance of the tot lot, approximately $41,000 out of ARPA. So that's what that $50,000 represents. It doesn't represent the full cost of the tot lot. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
I was under the impression, this is Commissioner Yuri, from what I saw and remember, and I think what was reported the other night, 2 days ago at the ARPA discussion, that it was 40,000, not 50.
My recollection is 50. I will double check. Because we put in the 41,000 from ARPA, the grant was 50. That's been my understanding, but I will double check the grant documents.
The grant is 50,000. It's
Okay.
not 40. We got 50,000 for that grant for the top lot. We added 41,000.
Okay.
What else did we go over? I will go down to health insurance.
Miss Richardson, before you go to the next item, I just want to recognize that Commissioner Givens has joined the meeting. We're still waiting for our treasurer. Looks like Todd has joined. Todd, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Carol, you want to turn this over to Todd?
Yes, indeed.
I figured you would. Todd, can you take over for Carol?
Yeah,
We want
absolutely.
Start with the constant yield tax rate, please.
Yep. So
Thank you.
Carol, if you'll slide to the top of the document you have up. So our task tonight is about approving the tax rates for fiscal year 23-24. The constant yield numbers, the constant yield equation are the numbers presented here. Essentially, what we've done in this document is captured all the spending, all the budgeted expenses for fiscal year 24 in the lines underneath that. On the right side of this document, we broke out into a couple columns: operating, grants, ARPA, fund balance, because those items kind of confuse the whole equation of the budget. So I gave you that breakdown just to kind of see, once we take ARPA out of the fiscal year 24 budget, what the revenues and expenses really look like at the bottom of this document. So I presented that for your information. Our recommendation is to adopt the constant yield that was presented to the town from ESTEP. And I'll pause there and see if the commissioners have any questions.
Todd, can I ask, is this the same formula that we've been using before? That we've been using every other year?
Yeah, so I was here for last year's budget, and last year we adopted the constant yield. I can't say prior to that.
Okay.
So what constant yield means is that you're not going to raise the taxes and you're not going to lower the taxes. That means that while the number may change based on the assessment value of the house, the yield, the constant yield means that that number is adjusted so that you can make a decision. If you're going to raise it, then you'll have to raise it above what that number is that they're giving you. If you're going to keep it the same, then you would keep it, you would accept the number that they gave you. And if you're going to lower it, then you would go below that number. That's how it works.
Yeah, I understand how it works. I was just making sure there wasn't any deviation in the formula from previous years.
The formula, he doesn't know the formula. The formula is derived through SDAT. So he doesn't have any control over that. That's an internal thing. That's
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, Todd, I think you can continue, please.
Yeah, I mean, so basically this evening, we have to approve the top 3 line items: residential tax rate, the commercial tax rate, and the personal property tax rate. The rest of the budget we've agreed to in theory. We haven't voted on the consolidated budget. So our conversation tonight's pretty limited. If we scroll to the bottom, let's scroll to the end of this document, and I can talk a little bit about what I meant by operating, ARPA, fund balance, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go.
Todd, can I ask you, maybe you point, but do you have like a kind of final number on what we're applying to kind of even it out and keep it consistent?
Can you ask the question a different way?
So we're applying, in order to keep the tax rate the same, we are applying something of our funds to it to even it out, correct? Or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's more about, so the value of the tax base of the town has increased. Constant yield is essentially your revenue for those 3 line items is unchanged. So the first
I see.
number,
I'm sorry, please continue.
so first number goes up, second number goes down, but town's revenue remains exactly the same as the prior year, is how the constant yield formula works. So your decision tonight is, and let's scroll to the very bottom of this, Carol. The last page, last line. So your decision tonight is increase taxes, adopt the constant yield, or decrease taxes. So piece here that I wanted to flag in that operating column, essentially the town is is going to spend $336,000 more than it's bringing in this fiscal year based on the expenses that we have budgeted. And that's okay because there's other funding in place, the town has reserves, but the decision tonight is, do we raise taxes to make that 336,000? Do we decrease taxes to take that 336 to a number that's higher than what we've presented? Or do we say, yep, we're going to adopt the constant yield and then we're going to reconsider some of the expense lines? And I'll stop there to see if there's any conversation, thoughts, questions.
The other thing people need to acknowledge is the fact that if you raise taxes, which is, that's a commission decision as a whole, you'll have to have a hearing. If you raise the taxes, you're required to have a hearing with notification to the residents. If you don't raise the taxes, then you don't have to have a hearing to raise for that particular line item. You still have to have a budget review, but you don't have to have a hearing to raise the taxes. I yield back.
Todd, I have a question for you. So, I'm leaning towards I don't want to raise taxes, so I don't want the number to change. But I do have a question. On Monday, we had a community meeting with our residents, and they had a lot of suggestions on how to spend the ARPA funds in different ways. And I know there was a request for an increase for the green team, the garden. There's a very strong interest in a food pantry. And so my question is, if we add additional programs to the budget right now, will that number change?
And I'm glad you brought that up. So you see the 171 above the ARPA total?
Can you put a highlight on it or something? I can't see.
So Carol, it's next to Carol's driving. Can you let me drive, Carol?
Yeah, please let him, so he can point to it. Thank you. You might have to make him a host or give him, or allow him to share his screen or something.
All right, he's a co-host now.
And talk me through, how do I control the cursor?
I wonder if it's because I'm sharing it as opposed to you. I don't know. Let me make you a host.
Well, maybe you need to let him share his screen versus you sharing your screen, and then that way he can control the mouse.
Bear with me, I'm almost there.
Well, I made him a host. Can you still see my screen?
No, this is me moving now. You see the screen moving? All right. So does everybody see this 171 that I've highlighted around ARPA?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great, thank you. So what that means is essentially up at the top, we calculated, after this fiscal year, we're gonna have approximately $500,000 worth of ARPA left from our two payments. I believe the number was 574,000 each year. We're budgeted to spend 329 as this is drafted based on our conversations. So we're carrying $171,000 of ARPA into fiscal year 25. So to address your question, Mayor, yes, we can up spending in the ARPA items for any of the projects that you listed. We'll just carry less into next fiscal year.
Okay, that's good news. I think we need to make sure our numbers are right, because when we had the meeting on Monday, when we did the calculations, we had already allocated around $612,000.
And that's completely possible. So when we look at the ARPA budget, we're talking about 5 or 6 years of budget. So again, in next year's budget, we're projecting what we think we're going to carry over. So here's the number. We estimate if we spend everything that we've budgeted through fiscal year 23, we're going to have $501,000 left. And then that's going into fiscal year 24. So then in fiscal year 24, we spend another 329, and this is what we have left. But yeah, happy to look at the calculations. But yeah, obviously we can increase spending. It's just we have a little bit less for next fiscal year.
Okay, now, here's my second part to that same question. When should we increase that money? Should we do it tonight, or should we wait till the next budget meeting?
It wouldn't hurt to have, next week, our next budget meeting, we kind of want to have everything agreed on. Which is why I gave you all the line items for the fiscal year 24 budget. So yeah, if we want to have those conversations tonight, I would think it's a good idea.
Okay, well, if the body is in agreement, I'd like to have those conversations tonight so that we can be in agreement as Todd suggested.
I think we should have that conversation, but I think before, I think we should consider having the conversation about the police salaries and come to a resolution on that before we start talking about the other stuff, because those are like accessories, you know.
Is the chief on the call?
No, he's at a conference. He's at training.
Okay,
Call him, text him.
who's gonna speak to the salary? Because I don't know anything about the salary.
Well, we can do this. It's not that complicated. I mean, he's pretty much stipulated that that he wanted it to see an entry level increase. But an entry level increase is, and I believe now, who can tell me what the entry level salary is for the police between Carol and the town accountant? He said, I think he said it was 47, but I'm not sure. I don't know that for a fact.
That's what I recall as well.
Okay.
I have names and rates if we know an entry level staff member.
Everybody's not entry level anymore because they've already been here a minute. So, you know, and they've received merits and COLA. So they're not necessarily entry level, but I believe he said, can you just text him and ask him what the entry level salary is, Carol? Because I'm doing something while I'm talking on the phone. But
Okay, before we move on any further, not to interrupt you, but I do want to acknowledge Commissioner Young has joined the meeting. So all 5 commissioners are present and accounted for. Thank you.
I'm
Mhm.
finally in the meeting. I do know that Denise and/or Diana Gillespie were going to join the meeting, and you know, none of the public has access to any of these special means to get in the meeting. I'm not quite sure how I got in. It took me forever.
I got in the meeting just fine. I went to the website and clicked on join the meeting, and it linked me right into the meeting. So I'm not sure what the issue is.
Well, it did the same thing for me, but the only other person,
I'm
the only
sorry,
other
go ahead.
person in the, when I got into the meeting, the only other person in the meeting was Todd. And then we got a message from Carol saying that we were in the wrong meeting. We needed to go back and start all over with a different number, which did not work. And all the instructions were completely messy and wrong. And so, I mean, there's a problem with getting in. And I'm sure that if anyone in the public who was trying to get in and had the same problem I did, they gave up long ago.
Well, I'm saying that after you weren't in, because you came in the meeting after. I didn't come into me until like 6:18, and because I had forgot there was a meeting, and all I did was go straight to the website and clicked on it, and it went straight to the meeting. So I'm not sure where the disconnect is, you know, or what occurred, but that's how I got in. I don't have any special passcodes or anything like that.
Well, Carol said that the number that you and I clicked on at the beginning was the wrong number and sent out a different number to use.
Well, that's how I got in, so I can't speak to any of that.
Well, there's something messed up here.
I can go. How about if I go out and come back in again? Would that help?
No,
you out?
I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying that I'm sure if I had the problem.
No, just so that you'll see that residents can do it. You know what I'm saying?
Commissioner Young, how did you go into the meeting? Did you go in from the town website, or did you go in from a link that was sent to you?
This last time, I'm not even sure, to tell you the truth. I was
No,
trying
I'm
every
asking about the
possible way
first
I could
time.
do it.
I'm asking you about the
The
first
first
time.
time I went in, the first time I went in using the numbers on the website. And then I guess the last time I went in, it must have been,
So you used the numbers from the website. You didn't click on the link from the website.
yeah, I clicked on the link, said click here to join meeting. And then what I do is, once I do that, I call on the phone to get the audio. And I used the numbers on the website to get in to speak. And then somehow I got new numbers. And I'm trying to find where they came into because it took me forever to get in.
Well, I do
And I know
know
I'm not
this.
the most,
I do know this, that when I go in from the town website, I just click on where it says click here to join meeting, and it takes me into Zoom, and it allows me to use the video and audio all from that same link. So I don't know if maybe when you're trying to use the audio from a different access system or different password that you're using to try to get to the audio version of the meeting, maybe that's where the disconnect is. Because normally if you just
no,
click on
I
the
mean,
link, well, let me finish explaining.
no, I have
Let
to,
me finish explaining how I went in. Normally, like I said, when I click on the link, and just as Commissioner Givens just said, when he clicked on the link, and I think someone else, maybe Commissioner Armache, used the link from the town website, it takes you directly into Zoom. You don't have to enter a passcode or anything. So I'm not sure. I think it's the way you're coming into the meeting. I don't think it's anything wrong with the
okay.
link.
Okay, when I first went in and got in, and Todd and I and Bill were all on there, that's exactly what I did, except that when I do it, I also have to use the meeting ID and the passcode to get the audio on my telephone. We were all in, we were fine. And then Carol sent a message saying, you're not in the right thing, you have to redo it in a different way. That's where the problem started. And then finally, somewhere I came across some new numbers, and I got into this. And I saw that there was an email from Todd saying that he was having difficulty also. So, I mean, there's some kind of problem going on, and I don't know what it is. I'm not the most technical person in the world, but I know that I'm not the only one in it, and I have a feeling that and since Carol said that she was changing all the information, a new passcode, a new everything, the public won't have access to that.
No, I didn't
I don't know
say
anything
that.
about her changing anything.
No, I just, because you had problems, what I did was copy the link from the meeting that we're already in since you were having problems and gave it to you. And I also gave you the information for the login that I got from the website. So I didn't change anything.
But you changed it from the original notice that was on the website.
And to
I
share
just
my,
copied the link.
You
for the
said,
meeting.
everyone, there's a technical problem with Zoom. The correct meeting link is below, which is different from the one on the website. And that's where the problem started.
I connected through the website. I think
Well, then
what
where
may
was
have
the problem?
happened is what was sent to you via email may have been wrong. Maybe something was left off, but I connected through the website and it worked. So, and I thought,
Well, I
maybe
did
something-
too, but you weren't there. The only people who were there were Todd and Bill and me. Nobody else was on there. And then I got the message from you saying, everyone, there's a technical problem with you, Zoom. The correct meeting link is below, which is different than what's on the website.
Right, because Danielle said she had problems, so I figured, okay, well, let me send this to you to make sure you have the correct one from the actual meeting we were in. So I don't know, because we literally copy it from Zoom and put it on the agenda. So perhaps something got left off and it didn't work. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
and to share my experience, I had to follow the link for the 4/12 meeting, not the 4/19 meeting.
Todd, did you say you clicked on the wrong meeting date?
Yeah, so I needed to go in through 4/12 to get to all of you, and
Mhm.
Ann and I were in the 4/19 link from the website.
I went
Okay.
into the April 19th one, and that's where I saw Todd and Bill. Isn't this the 19th?
Hello?
Today is the 19th, but Todd is saying that
Right.
he clicked on the 12th, so he clicked on the wrong date.
I'm saying that we're at the 12th, like this Zoom meeting is the 12th link. When I went to join you all,
This meeting?
yeah,
I clicked on the
Oh, I got it.
19th and I got in through the 19th. I'm not sure. I honestly, no matter which date you click on, the Zoom link should always be the same for the town. The town meetings, we use the same link. We don't change the link. It's a recurring meeting, you know what I mean? Like, we don't go and get a
Right,
different link every
that's what it
time.
should be, right.
So I'm not sure what happened.
Well,
Really don't
I don't know. Carol, why did you send a different one if what they're saying is true?
I didn't send
Because
a
I got in
different,
it at the beginning
did-
and you said it was the wrong one.
I didn't send a different one. I sent the one, I literally copied it from the screen that we were in, and it's the one I used from the website, so it should not be different. It should be the same, as Wanda said, we reuse the same one, so it should have brought you here. I don't
Well,
know.
we're not gonna figure it out tonight, so let's move on, because we need to hurry up and wrap up. Has anyone been able to reach the chief? Or has anyone been able to figure out the initial salary for an officer, the entry level salary? Do we
Yes,
have
I
a,
spoke with him.
okay, what did he say it was?
He said the entry level is 47,000. He wants to
Okay.
move it, he wants to change it to 58,000.
58.
Oh, no, 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 no,
58.
no, I don't see that happening. How are we gonna
Well,
pay
that's
for
higher
that?
that's higher than the raises we would have given them. I don't know that
Exactly.
I agree or disagree with it, but
We can't afford it. Entry level, 58,000?
No, because so here's what occurs. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 50 to 55. It's up to the commission. Or not 50, 55. I'm talking about 50 to 50. What is that? 5,000 over 52. 50 to 52, which is $3,000 to $5,000. Increase. So what happens is everybody, whatever rate that they're at, all automatically without the merit, their what's name would automatically go up, whatever that what's name is to that adjusted level. But that's really a decision the commission has to make.
no, I'm in now, but there were.
I have a question. So so he wants to give a raise to his whole department, but we're not giving raises in addition to the COLA. He wants to give a salary increase to his whole department in addition to the COLA.
So no. So
I'm
it wouldn't
like,
be- it would
what,
not be-
if we're not giving raises to, if we're, I don't understand, what,
I have a
why are we
document
just
from the
doing one,
chief.
why are we doing just one department like that? What,
I have a document from the chief, but I need somebody to give me host rights back.
hold on. You're a town manager, right?
I think I made Todd host.
Oh, because I can't do it.
Yeah, Todd, you need to make me a co-host. Or give me the host rights back so I can share.
okay, it should be good now.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Of course, it's small. Can you all see my screen?
Yes,
So on this document, he indicated like in column B what the current salaries are.
Can you read it out or make it bigger? Because I honestly can't see those numbers.
Yeah, I can't make it bigger. Can you make it bigger?
Yes. Can you see now?
Yes.
I can't. Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Wait, hold on.
You may have to just read the numbers out loud.
Lost it.
And I think you should read it out loud so it can be on the record.
It was
So it could be
bigger for
part
a
of-
minute and now it's smaller again.
Well, it's
No.
not even there anymore.
Yeah, hold on, I lost it. Bear with me.
But I think you need to read the numbers into the record for the minutes.
Okay, I will. Let me go back and pull it up again. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so the current for the current academy, I guess that's the entry level, is 48,000, I guess not 47. Private 55,000. Private first class 58,750. Corporal 62,500. Sergeant 70,000. Lieutenant 75,000. Chief 95,000. That is what he's proposing. The current salaries are for chief 85,000. Sergeant 60,000. Corporal 50,000. Private first class 48,000, and private 46,000. And then he indicates, you know, steps by which it would go up. Initially, 1, 2, 3, 4, but well, each time by 2% for each step.
I'm not agreeing to any of this. I don't support it.
No, I can't.
Is
I
there
can't
some
get down with
sort
that
of
either.
middle ground?
Yeah, I was trying to give it to you, but but you know, that's for me, that's way over the top. I think that there should be some type of and here's the thing. They're to stay competitive with other agencies, you want to be able to revisit your entry levels from time to time. So because they have a license and they can shop, and can you turn your what's the name off? And so from time to time, what they could do is they could shop themselves around because they have a license to shop themselves around. And so what we end up doing is losing our officers to other agencies. We want to be competitive, but we can't always be competitive to the point to where we can match or do better and stuff like that. Now, what I was saying, and I even talked to the chief about this, you know, ultimately it's up to the commission. I could personally concede anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 for the entry level, right? And then what happens is wherever they're at now, whatever that increase is from 47 to wherever you decide to land it at, whether it's a $3,000 or $5,000 increase, everyone's salary would move to that, would move to that number. And the secondary thing for an option for them to have increased options for cash or to make more money would be, and the commission of course would still have to approve those things, would be to offer an what do they call it? Incentive in lieu of a vehicle, i.e. they would receive a $5,000 yearly I don't know what you call it, a stipend or whatever, in lieu of a vehicle, and it would be for a year's period. And because what's occurring is they're spending so much time. Well, that's a different conversation. I guess we should probably talk about that separately because that's a whole different argument. But I think we should probably stay on the salaries for now. But I can't concede going to those numbers. That's just way out of our affordability range, because at the end of the day, this ARPA money, all that sounds fine and great. And Todd will tell you, this is temporary. That's a one-time injection. we have a problem. We have a structural deficit problem that we're going to have to begin to look at. Right now, we're fine because we have a number of savings, and that's what he's saying. We're okay. But eventually you're going to have to make some course corrections in there. And somewhere along the lines, if you get too far out of whack, then you're going to have to kind of start thinking about where you're going to make your cuts. Your cuts got to come. They're going to have to come in salaries. There's just no, or people. There's just no other way around it. I mean, because lights and stuff like that, you got to have on. But so I yield back. You can take it from there.
Are there any other commissioners, any thoughts? Any other commissioners have any comments?
I had a question, actually. So Demetrius, you were saying you would agree with raising each one 3,000 from what they are now? Did I hear that right?
So here's I didn't. What I said is the entry level currently is 47,000, and I'm sounding like it's 46 because I'm not sure. What?
It's
You said some confusing things.
Well, private is 46,000, and then private first class is 48,000.
So okay, so 40. No, listen. If private is the first, what's the name? Okay, private means you have no stripes. That's the entry level. That's your entry level. Private first class is a one stripe. Okay, that's not entry level. That's a one that's a one rank up. Okay, I was in the military. I know this, and so 46 is your entry level. Okay, your entry level is not private first class because everybody doesn't come in necessarily private first class. So 46 out of the academy, if you have no experience, is your entry level. So the commission, I was making the offer or the assumption that we could possibly raise it anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 to just kind of keep us competitive, right? And so if 46 is it, so it could be to 49 or possibly 50. And I would probably go, my limit would probably be 52, And then what happens is whatever that number moves from 46 to whatever the commission ultimately decides is their new entry level for private, then everyone's current salary. So if I'm Officer John and my salary was already 53 based on, because I've been here a little while, I've had merits, I've had COLAs and stuff like that in the past. Then if I'm already at 53, if the entry level moved an amount of $3,000, then I would automatically go to 55. If it moved to $5,000, then I would automatically go to 57. So because the entry level has moved, has adjusted, you can't expect that when you move the entry level for their salaries to essentially, well, I think everybody understands that. I think it's kind of obvious. Well,
what's the bottom line in terms of amount that you would allow each raise to be? Would 3,000 work or 4,000?
It's really up to the commission. I said I would probably go no more than 5,000, but I would go anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000. I think that's being fair. That's being reasonable. I can't count other people's money and how they do it. I do think that we do have, because we're in a competitive field, Public Works doesn't have a license certification. Admin, manager doesn't have, office manager doesn't have a license certification. These are license certifications. They shop themselves and they have the right to do it. And so we have to stay competitive. And that's why we have to visit that. Otherwise, you'll just be out of police officers. And so, I think
so
we do have to.
You're saying $3,000 to $5,000 increase for each one. So why don't we find out what other people think?
Okay,
I would go along with that.
I believe I asked the question, what do other commissioners feel? How do they feel? You commented it, so Commissioners Namaste and Yuri, we're waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, we were trying to chime in. You can go ahead, Artist.
Thank you. I would be in support of 5,000. I definitely think that we should, remain competitive with neighboring jurisdictions, especially considering they're probably I think a couple of our officers maybe from time to time have been shopped by other neighboring jurisdictions. And so, yeah, I would compromise at 5.
Yeah. I mean, for one to raise it for everyone, it sounds nice, but I don't think we can afford it. We're barely evening out, our expenditure as is. So for now, I don't think that we can afford to do that. For entry level, I would be willing to go 3,000 to 5,000, but only for entry level, nothing else.
Can I speak to that before we move on, so people can, so you might want to reconsider that. So here, let me give you a scenario. Just bear with me for 1 second here. So if your entry level is 46, right? So work with me here. Your entry level is 46. And let's just say the commission votes to, we're going to move to the entry level to $5,000 increase. So that would be 51, right? Right? If I'm Officer John and my pay, I'm an officer, I'm a private first class. My pay is 50. I get 50,000 currently because I'm on the current schedule, right? My salary is 50,000. So now you're telling me that this person you just hired that came out of the academy that has no experience, he's going to automatically make more than me? I mean, that's why I was saying you can't, that wouldn't be fair. I mean, you would have people in an uproar. So that's why I'm saying that whatever your entry level is, you have to make that adjustment throughout the department, so that you can continue to be fair in how you and how you come up with the numbers. Do you see what I'm saying, Danielle? I'm not sure if I explained it right. Maybe Carol can explain it better.
If that's the case, I can't agree to really any of it. I don't think we can afford it right now. And I understand what you're saying. We have to remain competitive.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I'll finish expressing myself. I think we could revisit it at another time, but I think that we've been more than generous. I mean, we're increasing salaries by 3 and 5. The government increases it by like 50 cents. Honestly, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and we don't have it for that.
I think there are 3 of us though that are in favor of Artis. You said 5,000. I would go along with that. Demetrius, you would go along with 5,000. Is that, I understand that number right?
Listen, I don't want to be dismissive of Danielle's concern, because I hear what you're saying, Danielle, but I want you to consider this. We haven't made an adjustment in the entry level salaries in over 3 years, well over 3 years. So, and so when we start to look at the overall field, I don't want us to look up, because at the end of the day, I'm here to tell you, if you lose your police department, you're going to have a problem. I guarantee you're going to have, because people have an expectation, right? And then now how easy will it, or how it's going to even be more difficult to re-recruit, because then now you're going to have to raise it if you're going to have to be recruiting, because you're out there competing against other people in the field who are already hiring at a much, much higher rate. So if you want to keep the officers you got, I think you have to consider, is making the adjustment. That's all I'm saying. So, whatever your decision is, that's your decision. But I just want
I'm just trying to move us along. So I'm just trying to move us along. And so I think you've got 3 people in agreement.
So I'll just say this, I agree, but I think that we've also given good pay increases and we've been very fair, and that's it.
All right, there's a comment in the chat from the treasurer. It says, to give this conversation some cost context, the cost of the chief's proposed changes equals about a budget increase of approximately 60,000. And that's from the treasurer.
Could I just ask Todd, Demetrius, did I understand you right? You said 5,000 raise for everyone, and I think Artis, you said you agreed, and I would agree.
I said 3 to 5. I said 3 to 5. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm amenable to whatever the commission opts to make the decision on.
Okay.
But I was just
Artis,
saying,
did you say 5,000? I think Artis, you said 5,000.
As long as, like, I do appreciate what Demetrius explained, and I certainly would not want there to be a scenario where somebody new comes in and they're making more than somebody who's already been there. So as far as, like if it was an increase to the entry level position, then maybe there needs to be an increase across the board so that it's matched. And,
I think that's what he's
do
saying, that it would be across
appreciate-
the board.
I appreciate what the chief is saying in terms of keeping it competitive with neighboring jurisdictions. And I think that's really important because, we're a tiny town, and the police is one of the most important things for us to spend money on. And if we're talking about a total increase over the course of a year of $60,000 in the grand scheme of things, to me, I don't know, the nuts and bolts of the budget and whether or not, quote, we can afford that. But to me, in the grand scheme of things, that seems like it would be worth it to at least come, if not give what he's proposing, at least come close enough that we don't have officers start quitting and going off to other departments. That's my.
I agree. And let me just see if I can understand what people are saying. I thought, Demetrius, that you were talking about an across the board raise for everyone of 3,000 to 5,000. And that's what I was agreeing to. And I thought that's what Artis was agreeing to. And I think we need to do something that's across the board. So we need to come up with a figure, whether it's somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000.
Can I comment just for clarity for the public? When you all say across the board, be clear, make it clear that you're talking about police. And also, Chief Ayers' proposal also includes step increases of 2%. So the question is, are you accepting part of this proposal and not the other? So we need to clarify that.
What I was talking about was
I'm not considering any of the chief's proposal.
basic salary.
Yeah, we're talking about basic salary, and I'm not amenable to steps. I just don't think the commission.
Excuse me, can we have one person talking at one time because you're talking over each other? So who has the floor? Commissioner Givens, are you speaking?
I was just saying that we were just talking about the entry level salaries. I can't concede to a step program. I was in a step program, and the town just can't afford that. I mean, you look up, and whether you want the officer here or not, you know what I'm saying? They're making this outrageous, what's the name? And then they're definitely, if you don't want them here, they're definitely not going to leave. you know what I'm saying? And then you're stuck. And I think you have to be able to make these adjustments periodically based on the environment and what's affordable to the town. Otherwise, you pigeonhole yourself into a financial situation that you're stuck in. And I can't concede to that. Thank you. I yield back.
May I speak? I think what we're trying to talk about is the entry-level salaries for all of the police categories, the chief, lieutenant, sergeant, corporal, private first class, and private. And what I understood Demetrius to be saying was that he would support $3,000 to $5,000 entry-level increase for all of those positions. I agreed with that. I thought Artis did, but then she said she was only talking about maybe the beginning level. I think what we need to focus on is what entry level increase would we agree to for everyone, and then forget about the step levels for now. We've already talked about what raises we would give for cost of living and merit, and so we would add those on to whatever we decide, 3,000 to 5,000.
No, that doesn't work like that. Don't work like that. I think it can't work like that, because you have to figure out what that is. And what happens is, all right, so here's essentially what's happening is, if you make the increase, what happens is that becomes their cost of living, which should be different from everyone else's, because you can't do that and give them a cost of living, because you're raising it because you're trying to compete with the cost of living for other officers. So that's why you can't do them both. So
you're saying this instead of a cost of living?
Well, yeah, it's not, they're not interchangeable. I mean, it's either or. And so their merit will continue to be their merit, but their merit is based on their current salary today, not what it would be once we make the adjustment, if the adjustment is made.
Okay, I was still speaking, and so I think what I'm understanding is that at this point, Demetrius is saying, instead of a cost of living increase, that we would increase each position beginning level by $3,000 to $5,000, which I would agree to, and I think Artis may also agree to, and we would just need to decide where that 3,000 to 5,000, where between 3 and 5 that is. Does that accurately reflect what we're talking about here? And then the merit increases would be on top of that.
I'm just gonna chime in now so you guys can have it on record. I don't agree to any of it. I don't agree to the step increases. I don't think we can afford it. The entry level, I can agree to that increase slightly, not $3,000 to $5,000. I could go maybe 2,000. If you're gonna go across the board, I could agree to 2,000, maybe 2,500 across the board for all positions. But I'm not agreeing to $3,000 to $5,000. I can't see us affording it. So I don't know how many votes you need to get it, but I'm not voting for 3 to 5.
Todd, can we have a number for 2 to 250 on what the total budget increase would be?
Yep, so it's 5 officers, $2,000 per officer would be 10,000 with a little bit of payroll taxes. So let's call it 11,000 for $2,000. 2,500 would be, I think, 13,500 in increased budget.
Thank you.
And that would be instead
sorry.
of the,
Todd, can you
Okay.
repeat that, please?
Yep, so it's 5 officers total. At $2,000, it would be $10,000 in salaries as an increase, and then payroll taxes would increase as well. That's around 10%, so it's around 11,000 at $2,000. 2,500, I gotta add up real quick.
and what was it that we decided on for cost of living increase? Was it? Pardon?
We decided 2% for the COLA increase for all staff, but if we're giving the police
what
department
I
a
thought.
salary increase, then it sounds like based on what Commissioner Givens is saying, they would not get the COLA. They would get
Right,
their
so
merit,
instead of the
they would get their
2%,
merit
they would get-
increase only, and they would get the
Right,
salary
instead of
increase.
2%, they'd get.
Instead of the
2%, they'd
2%,
get
they would get the salary increase of $2,000.
2,000 to 2,500, right?
Oh, so we're replacing that with we're replacing the COLA with this amount if we vote on it.
Right.
Right,
Oh.
but that's only for the police department.
Okay, thank you. I think based on what Todd is saying, I can agree to 2,000. If you all are willing to go, but nothing more than that.
Okay, let's see, there's something. Todd put in the chat for 2,500. It would be 13,750 total, which is for 2.5 thousand per officer.
And what about the 3 or the $5,000 or 4,000, you know what I'm saying, increase? So they.
Well, the 5,000, he told you the 5,000 was 60,000 increase.
No, the 5,000, no, that was the chief's, what's the name? That wasn't what I had said. That was what the chief had proposed, which is different than what I had proposed.
The one that chief proposed was in 60,000 in total. So how much is the 5,000, Todd? He put 3K per officer is 16.5 thousand. And I guess he's working the numbers for the 5.
Yeah, sorry, I had
5,000
got logged out,
increase.
so I'm back in now. Sorry about that.
$27.5 thousand for 5,000 per officer.
So Demetrius and Artis, what are y'all's thoughts on this?
I gotta at least give 3. I can't. I mean, I hear what they're saying, but at the same time, listen, we got a problem. I'm trying to tell you, you as commissioners, you can't afford to lose your police department, and you could be subjected to that. You got 2 Latino speaking Spanish officers who are in high demand. You have a chief that's doing XYZ above and beyond what most chiefs are out here doing, and they're always losing people. And I just don't want. And if the chief leaves, guess who else leaves? All of those officers who you don't want to leave, because they're going to find a home with him because he's been trying to look out for them. So he's advocating. He's not getting what he's asking for. He's asking for a lot, far more than I can even concede to. But I gotta give him something. And
I agree to 3,000. I agree to 3,000. Artis, do you?
Absolutely.
Okay, we got 3 agree to $3,000 raises
And I
or
honestly, I'm not
increases
sure
in
it's
beginning
enough.
salaries.
All right, I put on the screen the pay scales for area police departments.
We already decided this just now.
What was
Provided
the
for
final, Todd, what was the final value for 3,000? I'm sorry.
16,500.
Yeah, that's correct.
16.5 thousand.
Okay, thank you. And just remember, we have to give
Everybody's
them
above.
yearly pay increases after that also.
Right, but we've already got 3, so I think we need to move on. We can spend a lot of time on this, but we've already got 3 people in favor of 3,000. So
Well, then why don't
got
someone
a
make a
couple things.
motion? Why someone make a motion so we can move on?
I move we
Um,
increase the beginning salaries by 3,000 for each police position.
Commissioner Givens, I second that.
The
You know what? You
motion
can't do
has
that.
been,
Hold on, stop. You can't do that. So that's not how it works. When you're in a budget meeting, what happens is when you make, it's a what's the name, right? So it's a placeholder. Once you adopt the whole budget, it automatically gets rolled as one. You can't make a motion now because you're not in you're outside of our required town meeting. And there's no exigent circumstances, and you'd have to suspend the rules. So it's just
Okay, but we've got
thing.
3 people in favor of
Yeah,
3,000. So let's move
right.
on from this.
okay, I'm just gonna go on the record again. I'm not voting, I'm not agreeing to 3,000. So you
Right.
have Commissioners Givens, Commissioner Armache, Commissioner Young agree to 3,000. Commissioner Wheatley does not agree to 3,000. Commissioner Wheatley suggested 2,000 to 2,500. Commissioner Uri, do you agree to the 3,000?
I don't agree to the 3,000. I agree also to 250.
Thank you. Commissioner Uri also does not agree to 3,000. She agrees with the suggestion of 2,000 to 2,500. There are 3 commissioners who do agree with 3,000. We're gonna move on. What's next, Todd?
Before you start going into the other aspect of what the other agencies are asking for, i.e. the guard and the green team, there's a consideration I'd like for the commission to consider. It's up to them whether they ultimately consider, because and I want you to hear this out. Currently, we're spending a lot of money on these police vehicles. These police vehicles are costing us 50 to 55,000 each. And then we have the newest vehicle that I have, which is the silver vehicle. It's got how many miles on it? Like 70 or 80,000 miles on it. Wanda, I'm not sure, but the car is only 3 years old. And so what I'm telling you is those miles didn't get racked up here in the town of Cottage City. So, and what's happening is every time we look up, we're buying all these cars, and these cars are breaking down, not because of the operational functions they have here in Cottage City, but outside of here in Cottage City is where the wear and tear is occurring. So I'm not saying to remove the program, but what I am saying is opening the program up to options, right? So because these cars cost us so much, it's actually cheaper for us to give them a stipend if they so choose in lieu of the car, for those who would choose to receive it in lieu of the car to receive, i.e., I would say $5,000 stipend on a yearly basis in lieu of the vehicle. That would remove us from, because currently we're paying for all the maintenance, all of the gas. It's my understanding they're supposed to have been paying for the gas, but I heard that they're not even paying for that anymore. But then when we look up, we're buying cars, we're replacing cars, on about a 4 to 5 year span. If you have the longevity of these vehicles being parked at the town hall, and them receiving compensation in lieu of that, then these cars that we're buying on this quick turnaround would last longer. And it would give us more longevity, and then they would have less maintenance because they wouldn't be beating them up outside of Cottage City. Cottage City is 1 square mile. I don't care what nobody says. I don't want to hear no stuff about how they sit in one place. That's not what's causing the wear and tear on these vehicles. These vehicles wear and tear is caused outside of the town. And again, I know we have to stay competitive in offering the vehicles to them, but I think that like this program was done in the town of Tacoma Park, and it seemingly worked fine. A lot of the older officers didn't want a car. They was like, just give me the money. I don't need a car, because you're not supposed to be driving the car all over town. You're only supposed to drive it to and from work. But there's no way that a car.
So we're
can
doing
be
that
3 years.
now. We're doing take-home cars now.
I honestly, Commissioner Young and Commissioner Givens, I think we need to table that conversation. I want to get to
Okay.
some of these other
Well,
I
departments,
agree.
only because I know Commissioner Amashay needs to leave. And I do
Okay,
want.
I was
her
only
input.
mentioning
I
it because
agree.
we wanted to consider it. Okay, but go ahead. That's fine. That's fine.
All right, so there were several suggestions at the meeting Monday night, where the residents requested that we increase some of the programs that we currently have under the ARPA with ARPA funds. One was the community garden, the other was the green team. There was also a very strong interest in forming a food pantry, which we have been trying to do for several years. It just hasn't taken off yet. So as Todd suggested, if we're going to increase those programs using ARPA funds, we need to discuss that tonight. So I know Commissioner Amashay, you weren't at the meeting Monday, but everyone else was. And so we all heard what the concerns from our citizens and residents in the town. So the green team wanted an additional 25,000 from ARPA. The garden wanted additional 25,000 for, I think, 3 to 4 different projects. They wanted to do the inverted roof. They wanted to do, install a new fence. They want an additional shed for the beehives, and they wanted one more item. Oh, they want to rebuild some of the beds, they want to rebuild some of the beds. So they wanted an additional 25,000. I don't know how much money we need to put in for the pantry, but I do think we need to put some money in for a food pantry. I'm willing to take suggestions on how much to set aside for that. If we can't get the food pantry going through the Capital Area Food Bank, there is another program called SHARE. And I don't have the numbers on how much the SHARE program costs, but I do want us to discuss putting some money aside for that program. So I'm opening the floor for discussion. If anyone wants to speak, Commissioner Young, sounds like you have something to say. You have the floor.
Yeah, I do strongly support the 25,000 for the tree canopy. I know they went around last night and looked, and I think that's really important for the long-term viability and beauty of the town. And then the list of projects that you just gave, for the bees, the cistern roof, the deer fence, and the new raised beds, another 25,000 from the ARPA funds. I support those, and I also support the an equal amount, perhaps for a food bank, which I think is very important. And so $75,000 out of the ARPA money, given how much we spent on other things, I think is very reasonable. And
Thank you.
75,000 being a total of the 25 for the garden, 25 for the special projects, and 25 more for the food bank.
Thank you. Also mentioned at Monday night's meeting was a request to give out more food cards, gift cards, like
Right,
the
and I was
Safeway
going to
cards.
suggest that later. And I think we ought to
And-
double at least what. Sorry.
And there was also, I believe there's an interest in giving out more gas cards. And I know we put more money to the gas cards, but maybe we need to increase the gas cards and the food cards as well. I don't know if we put in
I
enough.
agree. I think we ought to. I think we ought to set aside the money. We don't necessarily need to buy the cards until the first cards run out, but we need to set aside the money, at least the same amount that we have already set aside, double that, and then use it as needed, and perhaps more than double.
All
But
right.
the other thing I think is we need to start sending out notices, just individual notices, hand delivered, about these things from time to time, so that people will understand what's going on. Because I think a lot of people, when they get the newsletter, they may not read the whole newsletter, and they may miss a page or a half a page that tells them about this. Whereas if we do individual notices hand delivered, they would know more about it, and people would take advantage of it.
And I think we should also encourage people to.
Hold on, Commissioner Young.
I'm sorry about that.
Hold on 1 second. Commissioner Young, you're finished?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, before Commissioner Armache has to leave, Commissioner Armache, do you want to chime in on the suggested increases for these programs? Because I want to hear your input or your thoughts. You're muted.
I apologize, but I honestly was multitasking, and so I'm not entirely sure where you're at.
We're discussing increasing several programs using ARPA funds. The suggestion is to increase the garden, the green team, and to create a food bank budget line item, each for $25,000, in addition to increasing the gift cards for gas and food.
Okay. I support that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you need to excuse yourself, that's fine.
Thank you. I'm gonna see if I'm seeing right now if I can push them back a little further.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yuri, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I was just going to say that I know it was brought up last night also that we kind of would benefit from a liaison until we can kind of really come to a firm way to handle that. I think it would just also be good to, if we send something around, flyers and hand deliver things, just remind people, that to sign up for Constant Contact and other things, so we don't, we're trying not to have to like spoon feed people information, but that would be good to just encourage them to kind of take hold of the resources to sign up for the Constant Contact, the email, system and everything else, so that we can kind of get the message out for ways to help them. But let me ask a question.
They've got computers.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, some of the Constant Contact messages that it comes to cell phones, right? If I'm not mistaken. Are there?
It goes to
constant
emails.
contact, but people get their emails on their cell phones.
Right.
So, most people have a cell phone if they don't have anything else.
Can I ask a quick question? So have we decided to completely put aside a specific fund to renew the ARPA relief fund for the next fiscal year?
I don't understand your question.
So we currently have the ARPA relief fund, right? And we allocated a certain amount for that.
We have two, one's for business, one's for,
Correct. So are we considering renewing that for next year, for the next fiscal year? Hello?
Well, while you're waiting to speak on that, I had another thing to suggest in response to what you said. And that is, somebody mentioned, I think, Monday night, that our new code enforcement officer might be able to devote some of his time to helping out with the garden people, since he's obviously not going to be spending 100% of his time doing code enforcement.
That's a good thing you brought back up. Thank you, Ann.
There's
well-
a comment in the chat from the treasurer. I want to get to that comment. So for fiscal year 23, we have spent 0 of the 25K budgeted for the food card program. I thought that 25K that we budgeted, Todd, didn't start until the new fiscal year started.
Yeah, I think from our conversations earlier, we had cards left over that we bought in fiscal year 22. And Carol gave us an inventory of what was left. So I was just commenting, it hasn't been in super high demand in fiscal year 23. Currently, we've got 25 grand in the fiscal year 24 budget. Just to add that to the context about should we increase it?
Well, I thought we said whatever
Okay.
was left over from 23, we were gonna roll it over or move it over to 24. We weren't gonna return it to the general fund. Isn't that what we discussed in one of the budget meetings?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah, so we budgeted another 25 for next year for the
Mhm.
food card program.
Right. Carol,
Plus,
I
if there's more
I thought you
notification,
said,
more people will
oh,
know about it.
wait a minute,
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Ewing. Carol, I thought you said at the meeting Monday that all the food cards were gone.
almost all of them, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Said all-
most of the cards are gone, Todd.
You said oh yeah, the food cards. The gas cards are
The gas card's been gone. The food cards are almost gone. So what 25 K are you saying hasn't been spent?
So we still have 25. We can buy another 25 grand worth of food cards in fiscal year 23, and then we'll meet our budget. So I'm not sure how much we purchased last year, but it lasted all the way up until now. And I'll look that up while we're talking.
Okay, so the ones that are almost gone must be from fiscal year 22. That
Correct.
must be what's going on.
That's correct.
So the money from fiscal year 23 is still sitting there. So we can use that money all the way up to June 30th if we choose to. And we can still keep the 25,000 that we have for fiscal year 24. And that would give us at least
Right.
50,000 worth of gift cards.
Plus, if we have a better notification program, they're likely to be used more.
Mhm. So I guess the question is, do we need to increase the the fiscal year 24, an additional 25,000? Since we already budgeted 25,000 in our proposed budget, and we have 25,000 sitting in 23's budget that we're going to move over to 24, or either we can spend right now. Do we do you feel that we still need to increase the food card program by another 25,000?
Can I say this? I
Because
think that
that's
we,
gonna take us to 75,000.
I think that
I
we
think
still,
we should.
I think that we still have a little bit of time left, and if for this fiscal year for the grocery cards. So maybe we shouldn't be too quick to roll anything over. And that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think because we're kind of letting people know that they're available and we're trying to find methods to kind of promote it more, I think we should increase it. And if they're not taken, then it just recycles.
Right.
That's
agree.
exactly what I just said, Commissioner Yuri. We're in agreement.
On it.
You
Thank-
basically repeated everything I just said.
I'm agreeing with how I feel about it. Thank you.
If you're agreeing with me, that's fine, but I'm just saying, you're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. I'm just saying that. I don't want people to think we're saying two different things.
Okay, thank you.
So we all agree to increase it for next year and use as much of it as we use.
So that's my question. Do we want to go ahead and spend that 25 from fiscal year 23? Do we want to spend it now?
Yes,
That's my question.
yes.
When you say spend, what do you specifically?
I'm saying buy the cards and start
Yeah.
giving them away.
Buy
Yeah,
the
but-
cards and give them out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. So I heard from Yuri
And
and
then increase-
Young. Commissioner Givens and Armitage, do you agree? And
Yes.
also Todd, I got a quick question for you. Once we purchase the gift cards, if we go ahead and spend that money now, that's gonna change the budget a little bit? It's gonna change the numbers a little bit?
Yeah, so, we've spent 0, we're gonna spend 25 and buy cards. Obviously, we're still gonna have cards that carry forward to next year. So I'm still at, do we need to change the fiscal year 24 budget? If we're carrying, let's say we're gonna have 15 grand worth of cards left when we start fiscal year 24, and we've got 25, so then that really means 40,000 worth of food cards in fiscal year 24. That's the nature of my question.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think that the answer to your question is yes, we want to buy the additional gift cards, but also keep in mind, if we're putting 25,000 into the food pantry, that's gonna help. So I don't know if we want to put so much into the food cards versus maybe increasing the food pantry more. I'm not sure which one we want to do. Because
Can I
they're
speak to
both
that?
gonna support, putting food on people's tables, so which ones do you think?
But can I speak to that? I think that given our history of not being able to get the food pantry running, I really think we need to do both. If we don't end up spending it all, we'll have it left over. But in the event that we can't get a food pantry going right away, I think we need to add both to the budget.
And
And
another
then when we
thing,
finish with that,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to, when we finish with that, I want to make sure that we go back and add the $25,000 to the Green Team and the Community Garden special projects, I guess is where those other two would go.
Yeah, well, we have 3 commissioners that are in agreement for those projects. I haven't heard from Yuri and Givens, but let's finish up these gift cards. So what I was gonna say
Okay.
was, even if we increase the fiscal year 24 budget by additional 25,000 for the gift cards, whatever gift cards we don't give away, we could use those gift cards to add to the food pantry.
Right.
So I think the answer to your question, Todd, is yes, we're going to increase it. Even though 15,000 or 10,000 may still be left over from this current fiscal year. We're still going to do an increase because we're using the ARPA money. It's not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
So I need clarification. So for FY 2024, you want to increase the budgeted amount for food cards. Is that correct?
Correct.
From 25,000 to what?
50.
50. Thank you.
Commissioners, not Armistead, I'm sorry, Commissioner Givens and Yuri, in regards to the green team increase and the garden club increase, are you in agreement to the
I'm in-
25,000?
I'm in agreement. I think that's essential work that needs to be done.
Commissioner Givens?
Oh, first of all, you never came back to ask me about the food cart, but whatever. You guys got your votes, so I don't think you need me, and you don't need me on this one either. So I can't get that. So.
Your audio broke up. I didn't hear what you said.
You never got back to me on the last about the food cart. So, and you made a decision. So clearly you have the votes to do what you want to do on this one. So there's really no sense in even bothering to ask me. You got your votes, so keep it moving. I don't agree, but keep it moving.
Okay. Carol and
20
Todd, did you get that?
Yes,
And so I've got.
$25,000 to the green team and $25,000 to the community garden. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so clarification, and I've got
Additional amounts.
about 7 minutes left, so I just want to clarify those last two parts. So we currently had 25,000 in the 24 budget for the tree program. Is that the same program that we're talking about with the green team? Is that going to 50?
Well, let me see if I can explain it to you. So the 25,000 that's in the green team, I believe I believe it's under the Public Works Department budget.
It's at
Yeah.
the bottom, it's at ARPA. And Carol, will you make me co-host for a second? I can share.
hold on.
So I don't know if Public Works is getting their portion of the tree canopy money from ARPA, or if it's just coming from their direct budget. But to answer your question, we're increasing it.
Right, the 50. Yeah, so instead of putting it under green team, I guess we could put it under tree maintenance, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Todd?
we should be specific, so.
Yeah, it goes under tree maintenance.
Yes, so just to clarify.
But then the other 25,000 would go to the community garden. Right?
So back to the tree maintenance. 'cause-
project.
and we
Let
also-
him get the tree maintenance line correct first, and then we move to the garden.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to confuse him.
And Todd, remember, we agreed to have one line for tree maintenance and one line for landscaping.
Correct.
Well, separate lines, okay.
Yep, so the meeting I was in, the green team proposed, 50,000 from the public works team for the town's tree maintenance. And then 25,000 as a resident program if residents wanted tree work done on their property. That's currently reflected here in the 24 budget at 25 grand. Are we talking about the
Where is
same
that?
green team proposal, or do we need to increase that?
You know what? You're right, Todd.
I'm not sure that
You're
they-
right. You're right. I don't think, maybe Denise forgot, they had already made that request and we had already agreed to it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Where are you? Which line are you talking about?
It says
Um,
ARPA Resident Tree Program, it's highlighted on the screen.
Just repeating.
Where? Which resident tree? ARPA resident tree? So when
Tree
was that
program.
added?
That was
Mhm.
added during the last meeting, when, I guess it was Public Works Department, when they presented their budget.
Because I think that they're asking for an additional 25,000, which I thought was going to go to the tree maintenance by Public Works.
It's going to tree maintenance, but this was a separate amount they requested to fund the trees on personal property. So just like when, to clean up their yards, to cut trees, and, for residents to cut trees in their own yard.
I don't think it's just that. Let me look at her email. Let's see.
But either way, we agreed to it in the last budget meeting.
I don't think we did.
I believe we did.
We discussed it. I don't know if it's been updated to reflect it, but we definitely discussed it.
It's there on the screen. We
Because
not
I
only did
thought
we
that-
discuss it, Todd put it in the budget.
Yeah,
It's right there.
But well,
And the direction.
I'm not sure that we put the full amount that they had requested. I thought that there was still $25,000 more that they were asking for.
Commissioner Wheatley.
No, do you remember, and Greg, you can chime in. We were trying to guesstimate how much it would cost to do that program, that resident program, to pull down the vines and go on private property. And at first, she originally did ask for 50,000. She did. And then after we kind of did a guesstimate, and I think Greg kind of chimed in, and I don't know if Demetrius chimed in or not, but we narrowed it down and everybody agreed to 30,000. They said 30,000 should be enough. And then I think we got it to 25.
And there was a gentleman named
But
Ben.
now they're asking for 25 more is the thing. Now they're asking for 25 in addition to that.
No,
But they
so
don't need 25.
she's requesting the same, in that proposal, it's just a letter where she's spelling everything out. But she's requesting the 25,000 that we talked about previous, which is
Yeah.
already highlighted in the budget. And then she's asking for 25 for the garden, which is all in that same document. So it's two different 25 she's asking for, but one of them is already
I
accounted
know,
for. The
but I
other one
think,
is for
I
the
still
garden.
think
I think maybe,
She sent a formal letter, that's all.
I wish we
Yeah.
could, I wish she could have been notified so she could be here with us. We need to be more careful about getting these notices out to people.
well, I think it's, we still got time if we need to make an adjustment, but I don't think we need to put another 25 tonight. Because I think it's already there.
Okay, well, next meeting, I'll ask her after this, and if we need to add another 25,000, then we'll have to consider that later, because my impression was that they wanted an additional 25,000 for the tree canopy
Miss
preservation.
Gillespie's on the line.
Miss who?
Pardon?
Isn't Miss Gillespie on the line? Maybe she can speak to it a bit.
Not part of
Hi,
the-
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not, I don't really know how Denise came up with that green team amount or tree canopy amount. I can text her if you want and let her know that if she has time to log on, I'm happy to do that.
So Anne, can I just ask you, just to be clear, you're saying in addition to the amount we allotted for the green team for the personal resident yard cleanup, and after the canopy, there was an additional amount for the garden itself that she's requesting?
Okay, there's an additional $25,000 for the garden for the 4 categories of things that we listed before. The bees, the roof to the cistern, there were 2 other things. So yeah, an additional 25,000 for that, and $25,000 for the tree canopy preservation project, which is what Diana is checking on now.
Okay.
There's a question whether that's already in the budget or whether that's something in addition that they're asking for. So I think, as I understand it, we've agreed to give the additional 25,000 for the 4 things for the garden that we went through before, the
Okay.
bees and the
Thank you.
roof and the.
Yeah, I know we discussed that last night. I know she reiterated some of that last night. But in the meantime, while we check on that, can we discuss whether we have allocated anything for ARPA relief for next year, or we have to come up with new numbers for that?
So to respond to that, in fiscal year 24, we have allocated $25,000 for the business relief program.
Okay,
And
but
then
not for residents.
not for the family relief.
And
Family
the
relief,
reason it's being allocated for businesses is because most of the businesses haven't taken hold of it, correct?
Is
I'm
this
not-
the facade program we're talking about?
The ARPA relief.
I
So
can't-
Danielle, are you talking about the business relief program? Is that the program you're talking about?
no, so there are two, like Ms. Richardson just described, there's one for residents and one for businesses. So
Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about renewing the one for residents for next year.
Family relief.
We haven't gotten rid of the family relief program.
He just said that he only has it for businesses. Todd just said
No,
it.
That's
no,
correct.
that's not correct. We never got rid of the family relief program, Todd.
Okay. Well, I gotta get going.
Mhm.
Carol, will you track all changes and we can circle back tomorrow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did we make a decision on the constant yield?
Not yet.
So we need to give you that information, right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get it. We'll get that done tonight.
Okay, thanks all.
Thank you.
That's what I wanted to clarify. I knew that there was something interesting going on there with the resident relief, but I think that we should definitely try to address that as much as possible tonight as well.
I can't explain why he doesn't have the family relief program in the budget for the upcoming year. I can't explain that one.
Excuse me. I'm gonna have to excuse myself. This meeting has gone far beyond what I had scheduled. So I'm gonna have to say good evening, everyone.
Demetrius, can I ask you, is it a time related issue or is it a topic related issue that you have to leave?
Time. You guys been doing this shit for too long. I mean, Jesus Christ. You know, I got other stuff to do. I didn't plan on being here this long. Did you plan on being here this long?
Not
You guys
really.
are going around in circles. I ain't
It's
got time
gotta
for
be
this.
done. Sorry, it's gotta be done, I guess.
Well, you asked me and I told you why, and that's why I'm leaving. I'm just trying to do it politely, but you asked.
I just
me, so now
wanted to
you
know. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good
Good night.
Bye-bye.
So we still gotta do the constant yield. And
That's where we keep the taxes the same, right?
right, and I think we should just go ahead and keep it the same.
Yeah,
Is-
definitely. We need to keep that right.
Yeah, let's just keep it the same. So Carol, can you make sure you get, Danielle, are you in agreement?
Yes, I am. I think especially now, given the sensitivity of the COVID situation hasn't quite dissipated yet, I think we should remain the same.
Okay, thanks. Carol, can you relay that to Todd that we're gonna keep the constant yield the same, so we're not raising the taxes?
Yes.
Okay, so we got that. So Diane says she can't get a hold of Denise, unfortunately. So we're just gonna go with, we're gonna increase the garden by the 25,000 because we know for sure that they asked for an increase. As far as I can remember, and based on what Todd showed us on the screen tonight, the 25,000 that Miss Hamler was asking for the resident, the trees on the private residence property is already budgeted. So I don't think she was asking for additional 25,000 for that. But we
Yeah,
can
let's check further
follow
on
up.
that.
We can follow up with her on that. Are there any other programs that we want to add to the budget tonight before we end this meeting? Because I think we
So-
covered everything.
I think we need to figure the ARPA situation out.
Yeah.
What ARPA situation? Which one?
For resident relief for the next fiscal year. He said that it wasn't allocated. We recall us doing, I don't recall us doing it. I think we intended on doing it, but I don't think we actually allocated the funds for it. But I would like to have that revisited and I think that we should renew it for next.
But you know what, Danielle,
What
I'm
kind of
sorry.
relief?
The family relief program. I'm sorry, but I believe we did discuss it because I remember we talked about adding more to the family relief program. We were gonna take money from the business relief program because we didn't have that many applicants. And we said we were gonna reallocate some of that money to the gift cards. And I thought we said we were gonna reallocate some of it back to the family relief. Because as far as I know, that family relief program is still being used. I
Oh.
don't know how it got dropped or didn't get
So-
renewed, but
I think we
never
postulated.
getting rid of it, that's for sure.
I think we postulated, but I don't think we ever fully decided on anything. And here's the thing, I talked to Ms. Richardson, I think, what was it, earlier this week, and she said it's been used up. As of what, last week, Ms. Richardson?
Is that correct, Carol?
Which one are we talking about? The business or the
Resident.
family?
Family relief.
The family, yes, we just now used it all up. Yeah.
And,
So-
so, give me 1 second, Danielle. And so, we didn't allocate any more money for next year for the family relief? That's what Todd is saying.
That's what Todd is saying.
Well, we're gonna correct that tonight. We're gonna allocate some more money. And I hope you guys are in agreement.
Yes, I think we should allocate more money also to it, not just like the same amount, but I think we should increase it. And can I comment?
I'm in
as
agreement.
well?
Mm-hmm.
I think the amount of money that they can get should be increased, because currently we're only given $1,000. And for some people, that's barely making a dent. So, you know, some communities are giving up to 3,000, but I'm not saying go that high. But I think the amount they can get should be more than $1,000.
I agree,
Well,
but what specific uses are we talking about for this?
Rent, utilities,
Okay. I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah.
mortgage.
More than 1,000.
I agree to allocate some money to that program. I think if we're gonna increase the amount, we need to have all 5 commissioners present. I don't want to leave that up to the 3 of us.
I can respect that. I can respect that. I have a question. So, I know that we're discussing, renewing it for the next fiscal year, but the thing is, I have people still coming to me asking if it's open and wanting to apply, but it looks like it's closed. Is there anything that we can do for the remainder of this fiscal year to support the rest of those families?
We can always move the ARPA money. We can move that money.
Yeah, I think, is it possible with just the 3 of us? Do you feel comfortable with voting on a number for that tonight? Maybe just a little bit to finish off the fiscal year, and then,
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I don't know why I could have sworn we had did that though. Oh my goodness.
I'd support it.
Excuse me, I'm okay with putting more money for the rest of this fiscal year.
okay.
Carol, how much was in that budget originally? Was it 25? Because I could have sworn we did an increase in that program. We definitely did an increase in the gas cards. Do you have the budget? Can you bring that up?
Yep, I'm pulling it up now. One moment.
Yes.
Stuff on the screen. Okay, the family relief program, we had allocated $20,000. Hello?
You
And it
said
got all
20?
spent.
20,000.
So we
And it
helped
was all
20
spent.
families. Well, we helped more than 20 because everybody didn't ask for 1,000.
Right, correct.
And I know that for a fact because I'm approving those requests. So I would be comfortable putting another 10,000 for the rest of this fiscal year.
Oh, for the rest of this year, definitely, yeah.
Because, I mean, that should take us through June 30th, if anyone else comes back for a request.
And then at least 20,000 for next year, maybe more.
I think, if we're gonna raise the amount, it should be more than 20,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you clarify, are all of you on agreement of allocating an additional 10,000 for the remainder of this year for the ARPA Family Relief Program? Is that?
Yes, I'm in agreement.
I am. I also.
I agree.
Thank you.
And let Todd know that he needs to put that budget line item back for the fiscal year 24. He needs to add it back. And
Right.
I don't know how much, I know we don't want to do 20 because that's not going to be enough. Do we want to do maybe 40? Because think about it, if we decide to raise it from 1,000 to whatever, we got to have enough to cover it.
Let me ask, what was
support
the final
40.
number? What was the final number we decided to add to it for the rest of this fiscal year?
10.
10? That's only 10 more residents because it's $1,000 per household.
But
Is that a-
everybody doesn't ask for 10,000. Every person that requests assistance doesn't ask for the full 10. I'm sorry, for the full 1,000.
Okay, so let me ask Carol, of everyone who's requested assistance, the remainder of what they've requested, is that kind of, how is that recycling? And do we have like, how are you guys, I guess I'm asking, how are you
Tracking it?
Yeah, how are you tracking what's remaining from each person?
Okay, so we have a spreadsheet with everybody's name on it and the amount they've gotten. So if one time, for example, they get 400 and that's all they want, they can come back later and get the remaining 600. So total's 1,000.
So basically you're keeping it open for them to revisit it.
Yes, up to whatever was, to the $1,000, yes.
Okay. So in my opinion, Wanda, it's still only 10 residents if we increase it 10,000 because it's not like directly recycling in, it's still being held open for the, remainder of that residence kind of, financial course.
Yeah, I
Maybe-
hear what you're saying,
Doesn't
but
necessarily have to be.
but keep in mind, some of them don't come back. They come in for that one bill and they're like one and done.
Well, I can agree with 10, but I think we should do maybe 15 just to have it open. And if they don't take it, then they don't take it and it'll recycle back in.
I'm fine with 15.
Okay,
I just
thank you.
threw a number out.
So what would the total be for next year?
Well, hold on, I need clarification. So for the remainder of this fiscal year, you want to allocate an additional $15,000 for the family relief program, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, that's what Danielle suggested. I agreed. I didn't hear from Commissioner Young. Commissioner Young, do you agree?
Yes, I agree. I was trying to get clarification on that.
Did
Thank
you
you.
get that,
And
Carol?
then for next year,
Yes, thank you.
and so then what's the total for next year that we're talking about?
I had suggested 40.
I
I'm
agree
fine with that.
40,000 FY 24.
Yes.
And what about what Carol said regarding increasing it for every person?
Again, I don't object to it, but I don't feel comfortable making that decision tonight without the other two commissioners present.
I get it.
I don't-
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
don't feel
let's
comfortable
discuss
doing
that,
that.
yeah.
I agree with you. Thank you.
Is there anything else we need to discuss tonight?
There's
If
one thing I
not-
want to say, and that is, hello?
Go ahead.
There's one thing I want to say, that is, from now on, I had a lot of trouble getting in tonight, and I don't know who else did. I know Bill never could get in. I think we need to do two things. One, we need to get back to having the notices sent out by email, by constant contact, like we used to do for every meeting that we have. And then the second thing I think we need to do is we need to finalize the agenda and really stick with it if at all possible. If we need to add things, we can add things in the meeting, but sometimes they're like 2 or 3 agendas out there, and who knows who has which ones. I think we need to simplify it, try to stick with one agenda, and also we need to get these out by email so people know about these meetings, because they don't always. And if we need to add to the agendas, we do that verbally at the beginning of the meeting. And then, send out an email asking commissioners and staff, what all we need, what all we want to have on the agenda enough beforehand so that we don't have these changing agendas and then we don't all have the same one in front of us. And tonight was just extremely frustrating. So let's try to avoid that in the future.
I agree with that. I also think that when we're having our meetings, whether it's a budget meeting, a town meeting, or a work session meeting, that we always use the same link. The same passcode, if there is a passcode. And I think that when you send it out, if you send us the agenda in advance, just make sure that that link matches what's on the website. Because it seems like there may be different links being sent.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem was. It's usually the same link. So I think today was an aberration. So something happened. I don't have an explanation, but I totally understand. But it was not the norm, because
Yeah, from my understanding, we always
And then
use the
also get
same
these
link.
notices out.
In addition to getting the notices out, it would be helpful if we could get these documents from Todd prior to the day of the meeting.
I've had that discussion. I will reiterate it.
And it would be helpful if he could be on time as well.
Well, he was on time, but he was not able to get in the same as me. Because it was funny, he and I were in a meeting. He and I and Bill were all in a meeting together using the original numbers, but nobody else was there. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. And then we have to use a different one. It took me forever. He got in before I did. Anyway, I guess we're ready to leave to finish our meeting. Hello? Anybody there?
I'm here. I don't know what happened to everybody else. Oh, Carol's still here. Wait, Wanda's here.
Wanda's here.
Silent treatment.
So I have a question.
Wanda, you
So there
Yes.
was Demetrius had mentioned, Commissioner Givens had mentioned, or you all wanted to discuss later, the issue of offering incentives to the police in lieu of a vehicle, taking a vehicle home. And I know another thing we need to talk about is the RFP for the waste collection service. And a couple other things. So
you
the
called-
question, so the question
I was
is,
going to ask if you had checked the references of the company in Northeast Washington.
I'm waiting to hear back from them. They've all been contacted via email, and I'm waiting to hear back from them, where I solicited certain information from them. So I've asked them to get back to me by next Tuesday.
Maybe call them too. Because I agree with you. We need to move on that.
Okay. So.
if we don't go with them, we're stuck with Bates.
So my question is, on May 2nd, we were supposed to have a budget meeting in lieu of a work session. Do we want to change it back to a work session and just have a meeting the first Tuesday in June? Of the last.
Why don't we
budget
do both
meeting?
work session and budget? Why don't we do both work session and budget
On the
on the
2nd?
2nd? That's what I would say. Get it done.
Okay. What do the other commissioners say?
I'm sorry, I have to apologize. I couldn't chime in. What was your question?
I said, since there are some things that we do need to discuss, we were having our budget hearing on May 2nd in lieu of a work session. One of them being, you all wanted to discuss, or Commissioner Givens mentioned incentives for the police in lieu of a vehicle, and we have to just in the RFP for the waste collection. And I know there were a couple other things that I needed to raise. So my question was whether, instead of having the budget hearing on the 2nd, can we change it back to a work session and then have the last budget meeting or the adoption that first week in June, that first Tuesday? I think it's June 6th or 7th.
And what I suggested was we do both work session and the budget meeting on May 2nd.
So you're suggesting to move the budget meeting around, right?
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
I can
I
agree to
hate
it.
to delay that, though.
I do
Because
have
we've
a
got a bunch
question.
of things to resolve.
The May 2nd meeting, that was gonna be a regular budget meeting, or was that gonna be a work session?
It was going to be a budget hearing in lieu of a work session. Normally, it would have been a work session. And I'm saying we have some things that I think warrant discussion, and change it back to a work session, and then just push out the schedule and then have a budget hearing on 5/10. We already have that. Then have the first reader on 5/17, and then final adoption. We can do it, final adoption would be, you could do it the following week, or you could wait till, or the week, 2 weeks after that. But we have to allow a certain day, a certain passage of time, because we have to advertise it. Okay? It must be advertised.
That's
10
why
days
I'm
ahead.
saying let's not delay. Let's just do both of them on the 2nd. It can't take that much longer.
So what we could do is on June 6th, have the final adoption on that date, and that will give enough time for the publication.
Carol, what's wrong with having the budget meeting later on in the same week as the work session?
You
And
can,
what's wrong with doing them both the same night?
you can. I'm just making a suggestion. I'm just trying to allow enough time for us to adequately address the things we need to address. So,
You know how
I
artists and
think-
creatives left the meeting. They're not gonna sit if we do a whole budget. This meeting took about 3 hours already.
yeah.
Well, let's just push it later in the week, and that should be, it's fine with me to do it that way. Because the
So-
following, we have a town hall meeting, so that's gonna be taken too, so you might as well do it later that week.
So
I've got
have the
something
work.
that Thursday night already.
Oh, yeah, that's
I was
right.
gonna say, it's already a lot of meetings, and like you said, people are busy and sometimes they can't sit through the whole meeting, so I don't know if adding another meeting date will help. But
the
keep in
same-
mind that, the election is May 1st, May 2nd, whoever's in office, they need to be sworn in.
Mhm.
So I don't know if, That's gonna be, we're gonna be trying to do a whole lot in one meeting.
Mhm. Right.
So
Yeah, and that was
keep
one
that
of,
in
that was
mind.
one of the things too, yeah.
Wanda, how do
So-
you feel about pushing it later in the week? Later.
That week, I'd have to check my calendar.
And I just say
What
that
day are
because
you talking about? What day are you talking about, Danielle?
that Thursday, so that would be like the 4th or the 3rd.
Thursday, I have something Thursday night, I already said.
Okay, well,
I
then
can't
maybe-
do it Thursday.
Okay.
I could do Wednesday. I could do
I could do Wednesday.
No, can't do Monday. Monday's out. Monday's the election. I could do Wednesday.
What date is you referring to?
That's the 3rd.
I could do Wednesday the 3rd.
I can do Wednesday as well.
I can't speak for Artisan Demetrius.
So you would have meetings back to back?
That's what I'm saying. I think that's asking a lot to have a
Well-
meeting on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, maybe then that would be 3 meetings. That's fine. Okay, maybe the next week then.
I mean, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I've had a meeting every night this week. We had the meeting Monday with the
Yep.
community. I had the Port Town meeting last night, and I had a meeting with the county. And
And
then I
I've
had the
been-
budget meeting tonight. I've had
And I-
meetings 3 days in a row.
I've been with you.
There was a
And
Port
Carol's
Towns
been at
meeting
every
last night. I
meeting
didn't
with
even know
me.
about that.
That was the one about the sector plan.
Carol, at least you're getting paid for it.
Carol's getting paid for it. I'm not getting
Yeah.
paid for it.
Mhm.
Well, let's just pick a
So-
day then. Let's,
Yeah, and I don't want to, inundate people too. So where are we? So that May 2nd, we have some stuff to do. So are you in agreement to make that a work session?
fine.
I think we need to make it a work session because like you said, we got some housekeeping to do and some of this stuff can't hang around any longer. We got to figure out what we're doing.
Okay, then 5,
So make it 6 or 6:30.
6.
6
Oh,
work
we'll go
session,
to
okay.
6:30 because the work sessions are usually 6:30. You're right, Ann. You're
Right,
correct.
that's why I was asking.
Correct. You're correct. So then we already had 5:10 scheduled. So we'll have a budget hearing on that date since it was already reserved. Then on 5:17, we will have the budget ordinance first reader. We already had that date reserved. Okay.
What about May 8th?
I had the 17th as the budget adoption meeting. So we're changing it to something
too.
else.
Yeah, because we're pushing stuff forward.
Okay, so that instead of it being the adoption meeting, what meeting is it gonna be?
It's going to be the budget ordinance first reader.
Okay.
So then the question becomes after May, so then what we have to do is I have to allow for 10 days. I have to advertise it within 10 days of passage. So,
Is that 10 calendar days or 10 business days?
10 calendar days.
Okay.
Okay. And so for the week of, so if we have it on, so we could do the budget adoption. What date are we, I'm looking at 5/17. So the question is, we could do the budget adoption, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. I'm trying to think of when I have to get it in to advertise. Because they usually will put it in, advertise it on a Thursday. I gotta have it in on Monday. So we are looking at June 6th, that Tuesday.
Which is the work session.
Correct.
For the budget adoption
Correct.
at 6.
Correct.
Well, if it's the work session, wouldn't it be 6:30?
Well, what we're changing it to I guess, well, it's a budget meeting, so we've been having them at 6. Well, no, you're right. It's 6:30 because we have to do the adoption during a regular meeting. So. No, it's a separate meeting from the work session. The budget adoption is like a special meeting, so it can start at 6 like the rest have. We're doing this
And then have the work session after that.
We're doing it in lieu of the work session. If you all want to have a work session after that, you can also do that.
Okay, so we got the dates down.
Mm. Okay, you're gonna have to send out a new schedule.
I know. And I gotta put up a new ad too.
So you gotta update the website.
Yeah, and please remember to make sure that we get these notices out to people by constant contact.
I will, and I will give that
And
instruction
finalize the
again.
agendas. So our next gathering will be that the work session on the 2nd of May, I guess.
6:30.
Right.
The next meeting is May 2nd, is that what was said?
Yeah, at a work session.
And then the 10th, we'll have a 6 o'clock budget meeting and a 7 o'clock town meeting. Then the 17th, we'll have a 6 o'clock first reading. And then on June the 6th, we'll have the budget adoption.
Right. What did you say for May 10th again?
Budget meeting.
Okay. Yes, that is correct.
And then the town meeting at 7.
We have a meeting next week on the 25th. We have the Port Town Quarterly meeting in Edmiston.
Oh,
I didn't know about that. Can you send us something on that?
Yeah, there was an email sent.
I don't know that I got it.
I got it.
Well, can you send me and forward it to me again, just in case?
Carol, can you send it out to the commission again?
yes.
Thank you.
Is that everything, or is there anything else we need to cover? We good to go?
Oh, well, I did communicate what you all decided to the chief. So I think that was another reason too. I think we needed, if we discussed the incentive in lieu of the vehicles, he would like to be present. So he wants to make sure there's ample time to discuss that.
He sent a text, a group text, and he's upset that he wasn't present in the meeting. And I explained to him that it was not intentional, that Commissioner Givens just brought it up. He brought up the police salary, because I don't think we were planning on talking about it.
Right.
So
Right.
that it wasn't like he was intentionally left out of the meeting. And had Commissioner Givens not brought it up, I don't think we would have discussed it. And he also brought up about the cars, but we just didn't have time to discuss it. But none of that was on the agenda.
Right.
We were just supposed to be talking about the constant yield and any other programs that we needed to add so that Todd can adjust the numbers. But it is what it is. Anything else before we adjourn?
Carol, can I ask you, we're allocating the money for the remainder of this fiscal year for family relief. What is the soonest? Because I know I have a few people who have been asking, when is the soonest they can kind of come to the town hall and
Well, I gotta go buy them. So I'm trying to,
Not the grocery card, well, the grocery cards too, but for the actual ARPA relief for the fund.
oh, well, they can come immediately. You all have authorized it, so that mean we have the applications here.
Perfect, thank you.
Mhm.
Just make sure you let Todd know so he can put the money there.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
And actually, Carol, can you do a summary of what we discussed and send it out to the commissioners? Because 2 commissioners had to leave early.
Yes.
Because there's some action items that came out of tonight's meeting.
And the action memo from the ARPA meeting as well, just as a reminder.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. I was in meetings all day yesterday, so I
I
apologize.
understand, no problem.
The ARPA memo, what's that?
I just asked for a memo from, from Monday's meeting to be sent to us.
Yeah, the community meeting.
Oh, you mean a summary of that meeting?
Yes.
Is Brittany doing the minutes from that meeting as well?
Yes, but I'm gonna look at them very closely to make sure it reflects everything. Cause I had discussions with people as well, so.
Yeah, but I want to make sure there's some minutes that can be posted to the public site for those who
Oh,
didn't get a chance
yes,
to attend.
yes, there will be, yes. So it'll be a combination of she and I doing those minutes. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Long as the public can have access to them, have access to those minutes. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, hearing nothing else, it is 8:24 p.m. Commissioners Armache and Givens had to leave early. The 3 remaining commissioners are in attendance, so we still are at a quorum, and we can now adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn at 8:24 p.m.?
So moved.
Is there a second, please?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Young, for the motion. Thank you, Commissioner Yuri, for your second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Commissioner Wheatley.
Aye.
No nays or abstentions. The motion passes. We are now adjourned at 8:24 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.